Hi, folks, and welcome to Points of Interest Dronecast. I'm Gary.
I'm Prak.
And we've got another great show for you today. We've got the guys from the Skyworx drone shows. They're all over the world, all over the country, and we got to talk to two of their guys, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I even met them a few weeks back, and we're doing news stories on
Saving coastline using drones.
And I'm doing Where Were the Drones at the Trump rally?
Ooh.
And final, we got some great new cool drone stuff.
Oh, yeah.
All
Can't
right,
wait to
sit
see.
back. Let's get this show off the ground. Exploring the people, places, and technology in the growing drone industry. This is the Points of Interest Dronecast. So, I got a chance to meet these guys back a couple months ago. I think April. I went to Las Vegas to see you two, right?
You too.
And when I was there, I found out there was a drone company that had just been at the Super Bowl the week before. So I guess that puts it back really almost February, right? Mm-hmm. And they were there to do the Chinese New Year, okay, and do their drone show. And they needed guys with Part 107s to do visual observation,
you know? Yes.
Right? And so I went over there and check what I got this. It says Skyworx on the front, all right? Skyworx. And I'm a member of the flight team, right? So that was a proud moment for me.
Awesome.
I had a blast, and I got to meet Jonathan, who you're going to meet in this interview. And these were some great guys. The other guy you're going to meet is a cool guy. We had some technical problems with this interview. He was in an RV, had pulled over just to do this interview with us. So I think he was working off of a cell tower or something like that. And he dropped it out, but we got the audio. There's some places in the interview where he actually visually dropped out. So we put his picture up. So, Arron, I am very sorry. It didn't work out perfectly, but the stuff he says is worth hearing. So we're glad we saved that part of it. So without further ado, hey, let's meet the guys from the drone shows.
Let's do it.
Skyworx. All right, we've got the guys from Skyworx and the drone show guys, and we've got Jonathan and Arron. How are you guys? Welcome to the show.
Doing great. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, doing great. Thanks.
Wow, this is awesome. Really a lot of fun. I got to meet Jonathan just about a year ago. I think, no, it hadn't been quite that long, out in Vegas. And Jonathan, you live in Vegas today?
We actually just relocated one of our warehouses to Vegas, and I'm now officially living in Nevada.
Fantastic. Arron, where are you from?
I'm actually in an RV right now, moving from Oregon, going through Vegas today for a show. On my way to Texas. I'm going to be a Texan.
Fantastic. Well, what are your roles at Skyworx? Jonathan?
I'm the CRO, so in charge of all revenue for the business and basically run our marketing and sales efforts.
And Arron?
Yeah, I'm the chief pilot. I'm in charge of obviously the flying the shows, execution of the shows, taking the planning and putting them into execution. Training pilots and keeping things going.
You must have a lot of hands running that many drones at one time, right?
Often
well,
do.
listen. So how long have you guys been doing this?
So I've been in the drone business probably about 4 or 5 years now, the drone show business. So kind of started just doing it with some concerts and kind of moved on and to the position I am now.
Sure. And you flew you were a pilot, a professional 107 guy before joining Skyworx?
I'll probably be one of the only people who don't have a 107 on your podcast.
Okay. Because you're on the different side of that. That makes sense. And Arron,
how long? The other side of it, yeah.
Right. And Arron, how long have you been working as a 107 pilot and doing professional drone stuff before Skyworx?
So I did 20 years in the Air Force. I was an Air Force C-130 pilot. And then I worked worked for the FAA for a while in Alaska. I got my 107 way back in the beginning when F-107 license came out. And I just started working for Skyworx a couple months ago. So
that's awesome. And first of all, thank you for your service. That's awesome that you were a real pilot, you know. We're as remote pilots, we want to believe we're real pilots, but you were a real thing. So tell me about these shows. How long does it take to set up a show?
So it's kind of funny because like the setup starts way before, right? So in some cases, we're already working on shows we're going to see next year. So the actual process of getting the design in, the storyboards, making sure we have the location stuff all sorted out, can take up to a year sometimes. So the component, I can talk to a lot about the leading up to the show, and then Aaron can really
Mm-hmm.
talk in detail about setting up the show. We'll
Sure.
meet with a client, we'll talk to them about kind of what their concept ideas are. We start working through some basic information. We decide how many drones they want because some people only need 100, some people might need 1,000, right? And so you don't want to oversell or overcommit someone, not just because of budget, but because you want them to have the best show possible.
Sure.
And so we start working through that. We go through a storyboard process with our design team. They meet with our logistics team. Aaron's on the logistics team along with one of our gentlemen named Tim. They'll make sure all the locations look good. We'll check the airspace. We'll file airspace, any airspace stuff that we have to file, and then we'll start working on the design. Designs can take months to get through. When working on stuff like EDC's 6 shows a night, 3 nights in a row. We were working on those shows and fine tuning those things to the BPMs per minute for 3-4 months. It was very, very intense, very very detailed. Some of these designs can take up to 8 hours just to make one design. So it's really, really interesting to see how people kind of evolve through that. Once the
Mm-hmm.
design is approved, once the locations are approved, Tim and his team and Aaron and his team, they pick it up and then they start to make that transition to the logistics component where we start getting the drones, start getting all the equipment out to the site. And then once the equipment hits the site, Aaron, take it away.
Yeah.
So
So
Aaron,
as
what's
we're
your
trying to
job?
scale,
What's your
do
job?
more shows. Yeah. As soon as we scale now and start doing more shows, we like to show up kind of one full day at a time. The design team obviously does some work off of Google Earth and some satellite imagery, but nothing always looks the same when you show up on site. So we like to give ourselves about 24 hours to show up on site ahead of time, check GPS, test some drones, make sure everything looks good as designed. And then we go charge batteries, work on that through the night. And then the next morning, we get ready and we show up about 2 p.m., 3 p.m. for a 9 o'clock show. It takes a couple hours to set up the grid, inspect drones, set up the base station, plug in drones, and then get the show going and not launched on time.
That's really cool. Now, one of the things you alluded to, Jonathan, was kind of, talking about storyboarding and so forth. Is every show you do a different show, or do you have repetitive shows as somebody just calls and just kind of wants you to give them, show A or show B?
Right. We pride ourselves on everything's custom. There's certain like components that may be used in other shows. Like, hey, I really like those jets flying across the screen, or I really like that double helix you guys did back in Miami.
Mm-hmm.
I really want to look something like this. There is some components, but ultimately everything really is custom. We don't have like a library that we pull from and then decide that we want to incorporate that. It's a double-edged sword, right? Because we treat every show as a custom show. We don't have anything that's kind of like you can pick from a library. So we're very more concierge as far as the drone show company is concerned, I would say.
Right. But is there a certain amount of cut and paste? If somebody says, I want the jet flying that you did in Miami, you kind of have that in a library you can add to that show, or you have to redo it?
And they can pick a
Yeah.
little bit from it.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is that whatever they were coming from before has to be identical for what they came back from before. So
Gotcha.
all the flight paths have to be exactly the same. They have to have the exact quantity of drones that the other one did.
Sure.
They have to have like the exact launch pad too. So I mean, it can be like, yeah, a little bit, but not like it might take an 8-hour design to like a 2-hour design.
Sure.
But it'll still be
What is the hardest part of all of this programming and setting up? What do you think is the hardest portion?
So, back in the day when we first started, we would do site visits before we would do everything, right?
Sure.
There was a higher price point for drones too, so your profit margins were a lot larger. So you were able to be a little bit more proactive. Now, with the nature of how drone shows are going, they're extremely competitive. You have a lot more. You have to start looking at margins. In the beginning, you didn't have to look at margins. So we used to be able to fly in, do a site visit, check everything, make sure everything was fine, make sure someone didn't have a tree that grew out of Google Earth that we didn't see.
Right.
I think the most challenging thing is, and it's not, it's it's not overcomable. Obviously, we're going to do hundreds of shows this year, but it's just getting on that site, knowing that that site is perfect, going through that component. And, for some reason, these drones just have gremlins, right? So it's like one drone decides it's a rock star one day and then decides it doesn't want to work the next day. It's like,
Sure.
It's
Yeah.
kind of like a rock
Machines are kind of hard to gauge. One day they're great. The next day, the same machine acts crazy. Yeah. I've had the same problem. I was in the AV world for 35 years and I've seen crazy stuff and I can't figure it out. Know why.
why did this cable work today? It doesn't work tomorrow. What's going on? Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it's voodoo
So tell me
magic.
about these
Sometimes
drones.
it's just a bunch of
We're
voodoo
all,
magic.
most of my viewers are drone guys. They have all kinds of drones. Probably most of them are flying something like a Mavic 3 or that kind of thing. I've got, Inspires and Matrice, but this is a different beast altogether. Tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So the swarm drone space is kind of funny because there's a couple major manufacturers that actually go out there and they make these drones. The ones that we chose to go with were an American-made company called Verge. You might have seen them on America's Got Talent a couple years ago. They work on great projects all over the world. They've done some really awesome stuff. They're the ones who develop the firework drone. They're the ones who develop the swarm drones that we're using. So the ones that we are called the X1s. The
Okay.
X1s have been in production. They're not in production anymore, but they've been in production prior for 4 years. Right now we're on the X7, so it's the next iteration of the X1. A little bit lighter, a little bit better GPS. We're excited for that one. It's supposed to be able to grab them in better areas. Potential to do more stuff as the technology develops. But we use the X1 primarily right now, and so it's a nice little self-contained unit. They're about 12 inches by 12 inches. They've got a removable battery. So what we do is we'll remove all the batteries at the end of the night. We'll bring them up to where we're going to do the charging. We'll charge them at night and then be able to put them back in. This is also really cool too because then we can actually do multiple shows. So
Sure.
we have the first Las Vegas residency here in Las Vegas. We do a show every Thursday night at Atomic Golf. And so we'll do one at 9, and then we'll flip the grid with batteries, and we'll do another one at 11. And they'll be totally 2 different shows.
Right.
So,
So when the drones sit down, you just go right around to each one, pull the battery, put a new battery in, and you're ready to go.
You're ready to go.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And if we've done it right, we've already uploaded both shows to the drone. It already knows what it's doing. The grid's already healthy. We just have to do some basic flipping to make sure that it's going to work. But yeah, single battery, not multiple. It's a lithium polymer battery. And what's really cool is now as battery technology is moving forward, we're actually getting a longer battery life on these new batteries that we're bringing in September too. So where we're getting, we get 15 minutes of battery life per these batteries. We find out through actual experience and use, we're only seeing about 12 to 13. The new one tested, we're seeing a full 15 up to 18, which is really, really nice for us because now we can run maybe multiple shows off of one battery versus doing a whole complete battery swap.
Or a longer show, I imagine, right?
Longer show.
So,
And people's
yeah.
attention span's kind of funny. I mean, between 8 to 10 minutes is when people start to be like, okay, that's cool, right? It's kind of like that long fireworks show that you're like, was that the finale? Was that the finale? Was that the finale?
Right.
Oh, come on, where's the finale? 30 minutes later, you're like, I'm done with fireworks. I'm good till next week. Right? And that's kind of the same thing with the drones. About 8 to 10 minutes is where most people are like, ah.
Yeah, we've seen enough, right? That makes sense. And you kind of answered this, but it's one battery does the LED too. Do you find that depending on the color or anything like that, you eat through the battery faster?
No. The biggest determination of battery is just weather. I mean, how hot it is, how cold it is. We see a lot of battery sag when it's 120 degrees out in Vegas, right?
I would imagine.
And then when we're seeing sub-freezing temperatures, we have to cut the show by sometimes even half.
Sure.
Just because it's that. If we have high winds that we have to deal with, that's going to create a little bit more energy.
Those motors are revving up harder to stay in position. And just another technical question of that drone: does it have more avoidance on them than most drones? Like this, this is the 3, and there's 2 under, there's 2 in the sides, 2 in the back. Is that pretty much common with these drones, or they have more?
They have some pre-programmed stuff, probably a lot more pre-programmed stuff, but they have certain geofences that they're not going to go through. So they know where each other are at. They have that kind of avoidance. They have their first geofence. If they go past that, they start to slowly come down. Then they have their third geofence. If they go past that, they just crash down. So in some ways less, in some ways more.
Gotcha.
I think it's a different way of doing it. I think is probably the
But it's more geofencing than it is optical sensor.
Absolutely.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
The optical sensors aren't there as far as these drones are concerned. They're just basically, when you look at the external of the case, and I wish I had one, I usually have one here,
Sure.
it's basically you've got your carbon fiber arms, your motors, you've got a case, and you got the LED and the dome on the bottom. And
Right.
And you have your lights on the top to let people know where they're at from looking at the top. And so that's about the extent of what you can see. Everything else is internal.
Give us a little on the spec side for those technical guys out there.
Yeah, it's the Verge Aero System X1 is the current drone we're flying. It weighs in at about 1,250 grams. Runs off about a 5100 milliamp 12 volt using a carbon fiber frame. Uses a flight controller made by Drone Code. It's the Drone Code PX4. Lighting system is 4x, 3 watt. About total lumens on the white spectrum, about 900 lumens. Has some good movement speed, 6 meters per second. Maximum show speed, has a max altitude of about 800 meters. Can deal with about 10 meters per second wind, ambient wind. We like to operate at about 2 to 40 degrees Celsius. So that's it works on multi-frequency radio spectrum.
I noticed when I was out there. In Vegas that you guys had. I do some RTK flights, and it looked like you guys had a similar like RTK style base station too out there. Is that as part of your ground control?
Yep, RTK GPS with a 10 centimeter accuracy. That's what we use. It requires it to lock us into its grid to keep the spacing, 1 meter spacing on the grid, and the RTK really helps lock that in.
And you only need one of those to operate to all of those positions?
Yep, one.
Wow.
As long as it works.
One RTK serves as the anchor. And
awesome. And it's still reading GPS as well from as many satellites as you can get, as I would imagine, too.
Yep, in real time.
Right,
yep.
That's all part of the whole process, yeah.
Yep.
So let's talk about Skyworx. I met you guys in person in Vegas, and that was really cool for me because I just happened to be there to go see you two, and turned around and you guys were asking for visual observers, and there I was saying, "Oh my God, please!" As a matter of fact, you guys of course offered to pay, and I said no, I don't want to do this. I'll take the T-shirt. That was really, I was more interested in that than I was pay. But I had a great time. It was so cool to do that, to watch all the drones setting in place over in the parking lot and then take off together. It was mind blowing. It was absolutely mind blowing. And to see the drones in the air is one thing, but honestly, for me, and I would bet my my viewers as well, to watch you guys do that setup was as exciting as anything. It was incredible as you guys got ready for the takeoff. There was a lot of like quick changing and checking every drone and checking and rechecking to make sure every drone was talking back to the system. I was just blown away. I had the best time you could never imagine for a guy. But anyway, so you guys were in Vegas that day. Now you live in Vegas because you have residency. How far do you guys normally travel around? And I believe when I met you and Alden that day, you guys were from Ohio or somewhere like that, right? Or Midwest?
Idaho was our base, one of our bases.
Idaho.
Yep, prior to that. As far as travel is concerned, it depends on the client. I mean, we've done stuff in Australia, England, Dubai. We do a lot. It's more so where the demand is, right? So for us, we're seeing a lot more demand in the United States, Canada, and Mexico. So we'll do a lot of stuff just on the North American continent, and that'll probably be where we're going to be for the most part, unless there was a really good gig that justified us to go somewhere else.
Sure. Now, on that same idea, what is the biggest gig that Skyworx has been able to do so far? Or what in your mind? I mean, that could be anything from the number of drones or the biggest event. Tell me about that.
Probably my favorite was the Netflix Isn't a Joke one. we got this marketing idea from our partners at Heads in the Sky, and they were like, hey, what we want to do is Netflix is going to be at a bunch of different locations in Hollywood. What should we do to kind of highlight this joke festival, this comedy festival? And what we were able to do is we flew an N, the Netflix N, above each one of these locations where these people were performing. And so we had 6 different launches throughout Hollywood at the same time, and then one big 1,000 drone show in the center where we went through everybody's names, everybody's things, told Jerry Seinfeld congratulations on Frosted because that just came out. And yeah, it was really, really cool. We were able to do it at Hollywood Forever in Hollywood, right next to the Warner Brothers studio and all the studios down there. It was really.
You guys are replacing the concept of the old searchlights that used to banner back and forth. You guys have totally erased that forever with this concept of the big N flying over the space. That's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely, and doing some movie premieres in LA have been fun. Whether it be like an Atlas or what was the one we just did, Fly Me to the Moon with Channing Tatum and Scarlett Johansson. Like that kind of stuff is a lot of fun to kind of get into that space. And having great partners like Heads in the Sky too, that allow us to kind of get there, and seeing the space really evolve too, and seeing people being able to incorporate this as really a new medium, right? And that Netflix show was kind of that checkbox of like, okay, now we've got a new medium, now we've got an ability to advertise, now we've got an ability to really make this a spectacular component of someone's marketing campaign, and that was really cool for me. Aaron, what was one of your favorites?
My favorite actually was a show I did in Avenal, California. It's the pistachio capital of the world. It was a small town. A lot of farmers, a lot of migrants that had probably never seen a drone show like that in their life, or even a fireworks show. And we created some logos that were like really central to the city, to the farming community, that they all just really connected with. My favorite part about every drone show is I like to just invite people into the grid after the show, and they pick their favorite color, light it up, let them just kind of just be right there with the drones, walk through them, take pictures. And that was huge out at that town because they'd never seen anything like that in their life, and they were knocked on their pants. So it was awesome.
I would bet. I mean, you're bringing big technology to a small town. I bet it would be exciting for everybody. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. And what would be the biggest show you've been involved with, Aaron, at this point? Number of drones.
Definitely. Yeah, Hollywood Forever and Netflix is a Joke festival. That was combined about 1,700 drones with the 1,100 at one show, and then 200 at each. So yeah, that was a pretty big show. A lot of work gone into that.
Wow.
EDC was also pretty big. 600 drones, 6 shows. That's a lot of work. So yeah.
Sure. And what's a crazy story that may have happened? Either a flyaway drone or something that went either terribly wrong or just a happenstance that was cool that you didn't expect. Anything like that?
There's always with production. There's always a story. As being an AD, you know that. And I think one of the things that we look for primarily, and when we're bringing somebody on, is how good of a problem solver they are. And and there's always something. I'm trying to think, what was the craziest thing?
I mean, just last week was pretty crazy. Our residency in Vegas, we had some equipment issues. We get the act of God sometimes. That's the thing with drone shows. Sometimes it's some voodoo magic, right? That's the most frustrating part for me is I don't get to control the GPS signal. I don't get to control the heat. And so we just had some weird equipment stuff go down right at the wrong time, and we recovered real quickly and made it work. But it's definitely nerve-wracking for sure. So.
That's the testimony to a good company, just like an AV. How fast can you react and fix the problems?
Exactly.
It's how we determined who was good and who wasn't. Perfect answer that you gave us, Jonathan, on that. So let me ask you this on the legal side: do you need to have more than a 107 to be the drone operator for an event?
So for the individual person who's employed by us, no. As a company, we have a lot more that we have to put together. I'll let Aaron talk about the waiver component, which is a little bit more. But for our side, there's a lot more insurances. The amount we spend on insurance alone is could put a couple families through life.
Yeah. I
Right.
couldn't even imagine, because I know it just, I've got 12 or 13 drones, and it's almost impossible for me to make enough money to short those 13. And
And then when you think about working with companies like Live Nation, Netflix, Paramount, all those people, right?
hmm
Their insurance requirements are people for big production houses, right? So when you're
Sure.
starting out and you have to have a $10 million policy just to be able to be involved in it, and then they want like
Yeah.
half a
I,
million
I,
dollars. Go ahead.
I flew for Paramount for about a 10-minute shot just a couple weeks ago, and they demanded I had $5 million in liability, and I had to go find somebody that would write that for a single run. It was crazy. And it
Yeah,
cost me another $500 to have that for the day.
yep, for the day. Now imagine you've got several thousand drones and you're
Right.
playing several hundred shows,
Oh, I
right?
can't even. I can't even. I don't even want to know what the figure is, but I'm sure. Amazing. Amazing.
And
So
then
you kind of answered that.
like Aaron could talk more about the airspace stuff too, because there's a lot more FAA
Yeah.
stuff that we have to file to do that. So if you
Yeah.
have time,
Yeah, certainly. In addition to having a 107, obviously the company itself, we have two 107 waivers: a 107.29 anti-collision light waiver, and a 107.35 operation of the swarm waiver. Right, we'll operate small, multiple
Right.
unmanned aircraft UAS at the same time. So we have those current and upstanding, and then obviously depending on the location, sometimes we need airspace authorizations. We don't go through the formal Lance channel because of our waivers. So we go direct through Drone Zone, some airspace authorizations and operational waivers to help us get higher altitudes at certain spots. We can get a 600-foot waiver, and so we just do that case by case depending on the location of the show.
Right. So you don't have to get an unlock for every single drone. That would be it'd be some
No,
work, wouldn't
that's
it?
way too much. Way too much. Yeah.
So first of all, on the business side, how do people reach you? Website is the best way to catch you. If our locality wanted to stop doing fireworks and hire you guys to do shows, is that the best? What's the best way to catch you?
Skyworx.com obviously is one of the best ones that you can get. It's SKYWORX.com. There's some numbers on there. You guys give us a call at our office, and take a look. I mean, we do some press releases. We let people know where our shows are at. Obviously, we've got the Las Vegas residency now, where every Thursday we're flying 2 shows. Come down, see us, check us out. Aaron, Ethan, Tim are going to be primarily the ones flying those shows down here. But yeah, no, definitely check out the website. One cool thing is we do have firework drones now, so you don't have to sacrifice fireworks with drone shows anymore.
Well, together, or is the drone making the fireworks, or is it a separate firework?
It's the fireworks on the drone, so they're carrying a payload now.
Nice, nice. Now, you were just naming a bunch of people there to do a drone show like the one you're doing, the residency. How many people does it take to put that show on?
If we're talking just people on the ground during setup and teardown, I think our total number for those 2 shows was 13 people.
13. How many shows do you do a year?
We're on track to do about 300 this year. Yeah. So
That's
and that's we talk about flights. So how many flights are we going to do? That's kind of the idea. So
and obviously you don't work every day, but what is the maximum you'll do in one single day?
well, it depends on how many teams we have running. So there's days we have 7 different teams running.
7 teams.
Yeah.
Incredible. If you want to be a visual observer, and like I got a chance, I just saw you guys on a Facebook. Is there any place that my viewers could go on and find out you're going to be in the neighborhood and then qualify themselves to be a virtual observer for your event?
Absolutely. So just if you email us at info or contact us or go through the contact form and just say you're interested in a visual observer, we put you on a list. And then when we're in that area, we reach out to you. And then in some scenarios where it's harder for us to get some, we'll even fly you out.
Cool. That's awesome. I might have to get on that list. I'd love to come back again. I had just, like I said before, the best time.
Puerto Rico here in a couple months. Maybe you want to go to that
one. Which one?
Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico. Yeah. I've been there before for some AV events actually, and it's a beautiful island or space. I really enjoyed that space. So what's next for Skyworx? I mean, you guys obviously. I mean, it sounds like you're growing. You're doing so many shows now. What's next?
The firework drone has really changed the scape a little bit. So we're really having fun with that, trying to figure out how we can maximize that. You saw a little bit of it at the Olympics, the Macy's Day 4th, were a couple of examples of the firework drones. Always looking at how to increase and how to make our medium better. So design capabilities, trying to flex that spot, that thought process is really big for us. For us, we're very busy, so we don't have a lot of time to kind of do it ourselves. So we're really working with the right people to kind of the right clients to have fun doing what we're doing.
Sure.
Yeah, basically, the firework development's huge. It just came through about 4 months ago, 3-4 months ago, and then the development of using the medium as more of a fun, artistic, pushing it instead of just doing, like a 3D eagle or just doing, just some 3D images. Like, what can we do to make this thing like, push your brain, have some fun with it, be a little bit more artistic, and be able to have fun with it. So those are the two big things we're focusing on. Design capability, and then developing the firework drone, and then really just having fun.
That's awesome. You mentioned something just a minute ago, and I should have asked. You said Macy's. Were you guys part of that big New York show? Was that you guys on that one?
Macy's is an example of a fireworks show.
Okay.
Yeah, just those fireworks drones were a good example of what the capability of the Verge firework drone can do.
Gotcha. Okay. Gosh. Well, first of all, again, thank you so much for coming on today. If you want to promote any upcoming events, this is your opportunity. Say whatever you'd like to say about Skyworx and where to find you, where to see your next show. Go.
Hey, best place for you to see it is Atomic Golf in Las Vegas, right next to the Stratosphere. We're there 2 times every Thursday, 9 and 11. It is a great public show. It's going to be different every week. Size of drone shows range anywhere from 200 to 400, depending on availability and where we're at. It's really fun. You get a chance to bring the family out if you want to. You play some golf, check out a new facility, and then be able to see a cool drone show. So that's probably the most consistent one and the ones I can talk about that I'm allowed to. So I think that's probably the best ones out there.
That's awesome. Arron, any last words from you?
No, I mean, it's a lot of people think drone shows are replacing fireworks, and I don't think that's the case, right? I think drone shows are very complementary to fireworks. It's a different experience. Get out there, go find one, watch one. It's really mind blowing to watch it firsthand and not watch it on YouTube. It's completely different than watching it on YouTube. So look on our calendar, look on the schedule, try and get in front of a drone show. You can even just pull over the side of the road and watch one. And yeah.
Yeah, I was directly under the one in Vegas, and that was such a unique experience as opposed to being out in the audience where I've seen one before. It was great, but having it directly over you was another. I didn't get all of the visual, but it was the magic that I could kind of see behind the curtain, and that made it incredible for me. And I would bet most of my drone friends as well. So awesome. You guys are doing so fantastic. I can't wait to catch up with you again. I'm going to put myself on that list, and so will some of my friends of people, or if you're in our area, in the Virginia area, I want to be there because, it is an experience like no other right now as the droning industry continues to explode in so many directions, and entertainment and the things that you guys are doing, adding now fireworks. Who knows what's next in that direction, It's just absolutely incredible. And I really, again, appreciate you guys being on. I hope to see you in person again.
And, we are looking for pilots too. So just because you're a visual observer doesn't mean you can't be a pilot with us. So with our expansion and how many shows we're doing, we have a need for pilots who want to be in certain regions and then pilots who want to travel. So we have, it pays pretty well on a contract basis, and we're looking for 10 pilots right now just to fill some voids.
But again, thank you for taking the time to do this today. This is really awesome. All right. I do apologize once again. Some of those technical things we couldn't even. The ending was a little bit weird, but those were great guys. I really appreciate it. They are so busy. They're doing 300 shows a year right now. And, of course, to do 300 shows, you can't have time to come do an interview with me. But
Yeah.
you know, they made time, and that was really awesome of them. And you know,
Yeah.
We
Can we book them for one of our night event?
Yeah, I want to get them to Richmond. I think there's opportunities.
Yeah.
You know, that's
We can have a festival.
yeah. Hey,
They can be a headliner.
sure. Yep, you got that right.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, again, thanks a lot to the guys from Skyworx, and we hope to see them in person. I'm going to put myself on the list to go to their San Juan, Puerto Rico event.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
still looking for visual observers for that, and you get on the list too. Well,
I would love to.
We'll go get on the.
Pay for me, I'll go.
All right.
Awesome.
All right. So anyway, it's time for our news stories. So what do you got? What do you got?
Yeah. All right. Well, there's a nonprofit in the UAE. Let's just say that what is the biggest problem right now in the world?
I'd say with global warming.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And with that, you get what?
Heat, hot coals,
Where
yeah.
do people want to be? By the ocean, right?
Right.
You have all
But
this city building
water,
up.
the
Yeah.
water table's going to rise.
Exactly. And so far, there's nonprofit all over the world trying to figure out a solution. Some people say build brick, what do you call it? Cement barriers that you
Yeah.
drop in. I mean, that works a little bit,
Sure.
you know. But nature has a better solution, and so this nonprofit in the UAE has introduced a system. But let me go ahead and introduce my news story.
Go.
Okay, so as you know, the population in the world, we are alpha. We're our alpha creature, and we expand. You know, every single year we multiply population. We run out of homes, run out of areas to build, so we cut down shoreline. The most expensive property would have to be shore, and if we don't have any shoreline, we build it. You know, and so we cut natural barriers out. We drudge, you know, oceans, and then we build these giant concrete mega structures. And you know, we cut down forests by the river, so there's no erosion control. You know, and then we need to feed the population, so we start drudging and cutting down forests to build more agricultural land, and we build these cities so close to the edge. You know, you look at Singapore here. This is right at the edge. You know, and the biggest problem that all these cities have is climate change. And climate change, you have unpredictable weather. And you also have, you have the iceberg melt collapsing, and then you have tsunamis. In the past, nature had its way to mitigate, you know, but we are the alpha species, and we multiply and we build in areas that we're not so. So this is the coastline of California. You can see they build so close to the edge. And this is a simulation done by a supercomputer. Shows that if you grow mangroves on the edge, it can stop massive erosion, you know, and also prevent tsunamis from happening. And so now we and scientists have come to a conclusion that we need to start growing mangroves. So now people are they're harvesting mangrove, and then they're manually going to these areas and planting them one at a time. It takes hundreds of people, so much resource, you know.
Sure. I saw a similar project going on down in Louisiana.
Exactly. I mean, it requires a lot of people and so much resource and so much money.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, you can see this video right here. This is done in Senegal, and you have to, you know, you need so much equipment, and you have to feed these people, and eventually you do get a mangrove going. But this nonprofit in the UAE, it's funded by the Abu Dhabi Environmental Agency. They are developing a drone that has a similar to an agricultural drone. You can see right here, it flies up, and then it goes over during low tide. It drops the seed, you know. These are the mangrove seeds. They're pretty large. It drops the seed into the ground, and then impact. It goes about 2 or 3 centimeters down, and then naturally it grows out.
So they do this during low tide, probably?
Yeah, low tide, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And so with this drone and a group of 5 people, they can populate 5 or 6 acres in less than an hour.
Wow.
You know? And again, you can go to remote areas
Sure.
And you know how the aggro works, right? You draw the map, and then you can just populate it. It comes back when it runs out, and you can add more seeds into it.
And it'll finish the program.
So their goal with the drone is to plant 100 million mangroves.
Sure.
By 2030.
I wonder what the drone is that they're using, because it doesn't look like the DJI.
It's proprietary.
Yeah.
But they do use DJI avionics.
Oh, very good. Very good.
And so you can see this auger system here, and it takes a couple people only to run the system.
Sure.
And you can go to remote areas, and you know what mangroves does, right?
Yeah, it keeps the erosion down. Fish population small fish live inside of them, the root systems and everything else.
Yeah, it restore the environment. It stops erosion. It brings in fish stock. You know, it also brings in crabs, and then you have the birds that comes in.
Sure.
And then you restore the natural habitat.
Right.
And so the only downside is you can only do this in the tropical and subtropical area where mangroves naturally grow.
Wow.
You know,
Well,
but that's my news story.
Another win for drones. Wow.
Yes.
Great news story. I'm telling you, I love what drones are doing. Every time I turn around, there's something new that
So
comes
many different
out.
things.
Yeah.
This is just one aspect.
That's some beautiful footage too. So my story is one that could be maybe on the political side, but really not. It doesn't matter what side of the fence you are politically. I think we all kind of agree that the Secret Service didn't quite do their job a couple of weeks ago. And one of the things that happened right away when it happened, I said to my wife, within an hour of the whole thing, I said, where were the drones?
Yes.
Because I know you've got people on a rooftop looking out and they're looking at, but with a drone or two, you could cover so much space. And we know about that because you and I, and I've got the footage I'm going to show right now, have worked with Henrico County Police.
Yep.
And so many jurisdictions are using drones. But one of the coolest things that I'm showing now is this tethering system.
Oh, yes.
Which means you can take a drone, like a Matrice, 300, 350, put it up in the air, tethered to a continuous power source.
Yes.
And that power source means you can just keep the drone up there on 150, 200 feet.
Treat it as a really tall watchtower.
Exactly. And you can pan back and forth,
And
look
then with
around.
the camera, you got the zoom, you got the infrared.
Sure.
You have everything.
And this is, like I say, what's unexcusable to me, and even one of the news stories that I've got a link to it here underneath. One of the channels did a really good news story with one of their tech guys about this technology, and I kind of wanted to point it out too.
Yeah.
It was about 5 days before somebody on the news side of things finally said something and did a news story, but I was asking the question right away. I even put it on my Facebook, where were the drones? Where were the drones?
Yeah.
And so you can see this technology that we pointed out when we hung out with Henrico. Okay.
You know how they have like filters into the cameras from video? You can track dogs or cats or people.
Right.
So I can envision having 2 or 3 drones watching certain coordinate, and if velocity of a person changed so quick, it would actually draw.
Yeah, sure. AI would say
movement,
this is an unusual
Exactly. So
pattern.
you can have like on the roof, if there's a pixel change, it indicates this movement.
Sure.
And that will draw attention.
Well, again, with all the technology in drones, I think that was, to me, the obvious
That
mistake
is
to
obvious.
me.
Yep.
Why did
NASCAR in Richmond, we use it for crowd control. We use this tether system.
Right.
And you have about 200,000 people in NASCAR. And ever since we used the drone, we saved thousands of dollars.
Wow. Awesome thing. Well, that's our news stories today, mangroves and Trump rallies. So there's 2 opposite ends of the world, I think.
Oh, yes.
But all right, so let's get to one of my new favorite spots. That's cool drone stuff. All right, this one solves a problem that, matter of fact, one of our guys who's been on the show, Quentin Mooney, he actually was talking about this problem. He finally got himself the Avata 2 after he dumped his Avata 1 into the river in Farmville.
Can't save that one. I can't fix that.
Right, and one of the things he noticed right away was this issue with the camera being so far forward, it's a little bit vulnerable to
Oh, yeah, no
hits.
kidding. Yeah.
So
this is the most
company,
expensive part about the drone, too.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So you're getting a little extra support. You're getting now about only about 6 millimeters, maybe.
Oh yeah, but
of extension.
It's a lot better. You need metal. This rubber thing right here,
Not much.
it's not going to do
protection.
much. Plus, the camera's actually extruding out.
Yeah, so it's not really
Yeah.
covered. And Clinton was Clinton, good stuff.
Yeah.
He said, well, I wonder what they're going to do about that. And I said, watch the show this week. We're going to do something about it. And this is another item you can get on Amazon.
Yeah, no kidding. And also, it's more visual. You can see what's front and back. You can see the front of the drone.
Yeah, they did
It's
put a little orange on it originally,
That's not gonna
to
help.
give you some visual of which way it's turned, because it's hard to see. It's kind of the front end and the back end aren't that different.
I can imagine also, Gary, that this thing is LED, red, glowing.
Oh, lighting up?
Yeah,
Sure.
that would be something.
Yeah, how we would power it though. Anyway, we'll work on that. But listen, this is a great little product. Not much money. I want to say again under $10. Cool stuff to add to your drones. We're going to do some of this stuff. If you've got an idea, something you've seen that is an add-on to any drone,
send it our way,
or a must-have for a drone owner.
Like I say, even if you don't see it and you come up with it, just send us an email, maybe a napkin scratch. I'll help design it, and we'll propose it.
Right.
And if it does well, we'll give you some of the cut.
There you go. We all make money. No. Hey, listen, thanks again for watching our show. I'm Gary.
I'm Prak.
And we want you to have a great day and fly safe.
Take care. Right?
Yeah.
Everybody
is flying.